This section I'll be combining 10.4 and 10.5 on phosphorus and sulfur. And I did that just because there's not too much on phosphorus and not too much on sulfur that your book wants you to know, but they are pretty important nonmetals. So, let's begin with phosphorus. Why is phosphorus useful, and why is it a useful nonmetal? Considering its use, phosphorus is actually quite rare, and it is abundant in the human body and in plants. As the 10th most common element in the Earth's crust, phosphorus is present in DNA, and so these are the backbone. This is a backbone of DNA, and it is made of phosphorus. And then here are the various codes within DNA. It's also useful in RNA, our skeleton, and teeth. In our skeleton, I don't have this in here. Anyway, in our skeleton it is useful because we have something in our bones called hydroxyapatite, and this is made of phosphorus as well as calcium and some other random things. And so if our bones want to grow correctly, we do have to have phosphorus. Our bones literally can't be made without it. Teeth as well. Phosphorus has two common allotropes, or forms. We have white phosphorus, which is P4. White phosphorus is lethal, burning, and spontaneously igniting in the air. And you have red phosphorus, which is P with the subscript N. That means any number there, other than 4, of course. And red phosphorus is very long chains of white phosphorus, all linked together, however many you would like. And of course, red phosphorus does have its dangers as well. So you can see phosphorus isn't a very kind molecule. So in the forms that we like, phosphorus isn't linked to other phosphorus molecules. To prepare phosphorus, it is made by heating phosphate, rock with carbon and sand. And so here we have carbon and sand with this phosphate rock, and it creates this white phosphorus. The reaction is unnatural, must be made at 1,000 degrees Celsius. So obviously our uses of phosphorus haven't been in development for a very long time, because humankind just really learned how to make 1,000 degrees Celsius, I would say maybe 200 years ago. Phosphorus is very useful, including military ammo. Military ammo is one of the key ways phosphorus is useful. Some bombs, plant health, matches. Speaking of military ammo, red phosphorus is actually borderline illegal to obtain, unless you're, of course, a laboratory or the military, because it has so many unique uses. For instance, red phosphorus is one of the hardest to obtain substances within methamphetamine. And so most of the time that's why a lot of the drug trade is also involved in military and in weapons, because red phosphorus is found very naturally in weapons, particularly military grade ones. So anyway, that's aside. Phosphoric acid, H3PO4, is one of the most important industrial chemicals, and it is used in carbonated beverages, leavening agents, cereals, water softeners, flame retardants. It's also very useful with baking powder. You can check that out on page 162. I have my textbook here, and if you wanted to open yours to page 162, it kind of explains here you go. It kind of explains some of the uses of phosphates and how you make these different phosphates, and even how the cell uses phosphorus. Pretty cool. Anyways, Red phosphorus is useful also in matches and is a part of a safety match, one which can only be lit through striking the red phosphorus. So you can see the safety match over there. This differs from a strike anywhere match, which can be lit on any surface, and so most of the time those are a little bit more precarious because you can drag them along any surface that might cause friction, and you can light that match. But anyways, let's continue on with the idea of sulfur. And sulfur is easily derived because it's found in its elemental form as S8, and because of that, it's common, pretty unreactive. It's also found as gypsum and cinnabar, which are minerals, and kind of beautiful minerals too, and as well as fool's gold. So if you remember the gold rush, where everyone went out to California, a lot of them were pretty disappointed because what they found instead of real gold was fool's gold, which is a mixture of iron and sulfur, which has the appearance of gold, not very worthwhile. Sulfur naturally found is yellow, tasteless, odorless, insoluble in water, and if it's heated above low temperature, it can actually transform into a pale yellow liquid. I wouldn't necessarily swallow the liquid, but overall sulfur is pretty harmless. And sulfur has many importances, including phosphate fertilizer production, fibers, plastics, dyes, paints, particularly those of the yellow color, and naturally made, those are made from sulfur. Sulfur is also an amazing drying substance, and as S8, you don't want to have it come in contact with your skin. It's not necessarily deadly, but it'll dry out your skin right away, and so it has a kind of a water soaking up reaction to it. I have a video on YouTube I thought was really cool, and it demonstrates just how interesting sulfur can be. I have an ad for Aladdin. Cool. Anyway, so it takes sulfuric acid and sugar, and it is such a drying substance that it actually rips the water out of sugar. Now it removes, see, sugar is, let's see, sugar, table sugar, is C6, H12, O6, missed the 1. And you see how this can be broken down into 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. I mean, essentially, we could rewrite this as 6H2O and 6 carbons. That's what this stuff does. Take a look. It, when poured on sugar, just a little bit will begin to rip it up. It's kind of amazing. It starts soaking up all the water, and it forms raw carbon, just individual molecules of carbon. And of course it starts smoking too, because that's pretty cool. Ironically, it's what it's producing is pretty harmless, even though the top of it is black. So, anyway, That's kind of interesting. And that's it. So hopefully you learned a couple things. Do section review 10.4 and 10.5 specific questions. I'm not going to give you all of them. And I particularly gave you ones that I talked about in this lecture, so it would be a little bit easier on you. But anyway, I hope you have a good day. Happy Tuesday. I will see you guys later.